Right, we are up on you.
Thank you. So I'd like to call this ad hoc committee meeting to order. Ask you to join me in a moment of silence and thankfulness, for us to be thankful under all circumstances. We got Thanksgiving coming up in a week or so. It's hard to believe, but we have so many blessings really in our city and our community to be thankful for. So moment of silence of thanks. Amen, and thank you, Lord. So we don't have a whole lot to report to you, as we had an extensive meeting yesterday with the workshop and really went through most everything. We had set up these ad hoc meetings kind of in advance, and we had this one on the schedule already. So Amy, just a few modifications based on our comments yesterday, and maybe a few other odds and ends kind of to wrap things up before we bring our budget to council next week. Amy?
Good afternoon, everyone. This will be really, really fast, I promise. So just based on our discussions yesterday, our final draft budget will be the 3 mil increase, cover the shortfall that we had, full year of the employee pay plan, sorry, I can't talk, and then restoring overtime as well. So that's what it will look like. And I have, actually, I'm trying this new thing with links, but it probably won't let me do it when I'm in a slideshow. Oh, there it goes. Can you see that or no?
I just see the link
Okay.
line there. I don't see the actual
I guess it
budget
didn't work.
thing.
I
You
will
might have
try
to
a different way.
stop and re-share again, maybe.
Yes. Hold on one second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, take your time.
Okay. Can you see that?
There you go.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is what it will look like. Revenues to, that's the fund balance we talked about yesterday, making up for the shortfall that we still had. And then just all the expenses, still the 6.3 million deficit that we talked about. Enterprise funds, making up that deficit in the general fund. And so there's our balanced budget.
Gotcha.
Any questions?
That's just.
Amy, just go back after that screen one more
sorry.
time.
Sorry.
You remind me of my math teacher in high school, that he would go through these numbers and he had his chalk in one hand and the eraser in the other. And if you didn't pay a whole lot of attention,
You were gone.
And then he would tell us, we may have a test tomorrow. Maybe we won't have a test tomorrow.
You did copy all that, right, Peter?
Listen, he stayed with me all my life about Captain Arnold Holtz.
See, but
So-
you never forgot them.
I never forgot him.
So there
Go
you
back up a little, just go up a little bit. I was jotting down some of these numbers. So
Okay.
our total budget's gonna be 222, right?
That's expenses. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, the budget's is gonna be, there's got to balance 222 in income and 222 in expenses. Don't we run about a 15% increase every year over our budget?
You know what, Councilmember Shade, I didn't do what the increase is. So it's any of my, I know we have it. I just can't. Does anybody know, Kathy or Andrew, would it increase? We can get that to you if we don't have it. It's not that much every year. It varies. And you know,
Yeah.
obviously the last 2 years, it didn't do that at all. Last year, we actually, I think we had like a 1% decrease. So,
Yeah,
or this year, which is really this year when I say last year, because you know, I'm always working in 3 years, but I mean for 2021. I can get you
Councilmember
that.
Amy, I've got that number if you just want me to
Yeah,
share
go
it.
ahead. Thank you.
Sure. So Amy's right. When we went from the 2020 approved budget to the 2021 approved budget, the general fund expenditures decreased a little over 1%. And right now from the 2021 approved budget to the 2022 draft budget, general fund expenditures are increasing about 9%.
And weren't they closer to 225 like in 2019, 20?
So in 2019, the 2019 approved budget, the general fund expenditure budget was $195.6 million.
Okay. That just, you know, Andrew, those kind of figures just give us an idea of the scope of our budget, how it fluctuates, but for the 2020, 2021 was a little bit of an odd budget year, but still, that gives us a good point of reference I was looking for.
Yeah, we can give you like the last 5 years if you'd like, Councilmember Shade. We can send that to you.
Okay.
I'll send it to all of you. And then when you're looking at balanced budgets, because you said 222 in expenses, 222 in revenues, it's actually 216 in general fund revenues, 222 in general fund expenditures, which is that $6.3 million deficit that or shortfall that we have, which the enterprise funds make up. So when you're adding what the total budget is, you need to take the total general fund expenses and the total enterprise fund expenses, and that's what the total budget is. Got it?
So our total budget is 229.
No, it's 222 plus the
Okay.
31.
222 plus a 31.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because you have that 6.3 shortfall in the general fund that you're making up with enterprise funds. So your general fund budget is 222. Your enterprise fund budget is 31.4. Add those together, and that's the total budget. And that's how it balances.
Because enterprise revenue is higher than expenses.
That's right. Okay,
Gotcha.
okay. So,
But wait, Amy, don't leave yet.
okay.
No, go back to the slide, please.
Okay. You want the slide, not the budget?
No, go back to the budget.
List.
Okay.
Hypothetically, obviously, we all going through, West Ashley revitalization. And trying to clean up, and I'm asking this question to the mayor and across Peter, we all in this together, and obviously Councilman Appel. And trying to clean up some of the, or improve, I should say, some of the gateways coming in. Some of that's going to be in conjunction with the county, maybe to a lesser extent with the state. So if it comes to a situation, I'll give the example, you come across the North Bridge and when you get up to Sandhurst, prior to Mrs. Rose, let's say we work with the county and they put up some money and we put up some money to clean out that wooded area. Not clean it out, but just tidy it up and maybe put some bedding plants or something in there. Or there's a recent effort, to try to improve the signage in West Ashley. Some of the signages that are there bent over and beaten and battered, just trying to put some new signs there. If it requires a matching type situation, or, we contribute with the county, a little bit with the state to get some of this stuff done. Do we have any pockets where we could go get a little bit of money from for something like that?
Well, could we use ARPA money from this coming May that we hadn't used yet? We still have, didn't you say, Amy, a few $1 million left in that?
We do. And depending on what it is and where it is, Councilmember Waring, some of the signs that we use hospitality for, so it would just depend on where they were.
Right.
And so you have a little bit of fund balances everywhere that you might be able to use,
Okay.
but not really any pots of money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know we need to kind of scrap here and scrap there, but that's what I was talking about. For example, when you come West Ashley and you come to St. Andrews, you're on St. Andrews Boulevard and you get to the little, 5-point area there and you go to either Old Town Road or you keep 61. There's a sign there, state sign that's bent over part of the one, okay? And there's an effort to improve some of that stuff. Now, part of that sign, I don't know if it's that sign, but that's part of the direction that'll get you going towards Charlestown Landing, the birthplace of South Carolina. I don't know whether that would fall in that category that you just alluded to, but I know there are going to be some efforts, not just me. We know that there are going to be some efforts that's going to need some monies because I doubt that the city would be in a position to pay for it all. Or if the county says, okay, guys, we got, 150,000 or 200,000 to try to help you along, and we need to kind of come along with another 150 or 300. I mean, the mayor's suggestion about the American Recovery Act fund, and you said we get what, about 10, and we already got 6 committed, I think.
We have about $6 million left over from
We
the
got
whole
6 million
20,
left.
from the full 20 million that we were awarded.
Correct. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's some potential. In other words, there was an effort, Peter, you may remember, I forgot what we had they were talking about some improvements there at Sumal Road, the county did. County had some money, but we didn't, about making some improvements there. If that opportunity will arise, sometimes in 23, if the county's available, we certainly want to we want to be able to play. That's all I'm
So
saying.
if you're talking about like CTC funds that we would need a match for or something like that, just remember too, when we close out 2021, there, that could be some project money that we would use towards those projects as well, that we
Right.
might be able to use towards a match. And then some of the smaller things might be able to be covered just in Jason's budget or whoever's budget, depending on how small they are too.
All right. Anyway, so you're saying we got a chance. That's what I mean.
So I'm
Okay,
saying
thanks.
there's a chance.
All right,
And-
remember that. Okay.
And Councilmember Waring, don't forget that we've been engaged with the county on those improvements all around Sumar Street, Dickinson Street, Amberley Street, Donahue, that whole area.
Right.
That's I think what Councilmember Brantley Moody mentioned to us, that's on tap for the later part of 2022. So that's in the works. That's in the pipe coming down. So having some beautification money to go along with that would be a nice complement for that area.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Thanks.
agree.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Councilmember Jackson, then Appel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just got off the Commission on Women's monthly meeting, and I promised them I would fall on my sword one last time to this committee. They are dedicated to recommending to you that we begin the paid family life leave benefit plan that we've had on our list for the last 2 years, had to take it off during COVID. Agreed at the Human Resources Committee earlier this year that if we could fully fund the pay plan increase, which we agreed to do yesterday, that we could begin the paid life family leave at the lowest level, which is a 2-week benefit for maternity, paternity, and caregivers. And in round numbers, that's like $30,000 to this coming year. And I know that, we don't have any data, we don't have any statistics about that could potentially increase in an amount based on the fact that people would use their leave. I think when you're talking about 2 weeks of paid leave, we're not going to be hiring a bunch of people to cover a job for somebody who's out for 2 weeks. We've certainly experienced that with COVID. And I think our women have done their homework, and they are convinced based on national data and national statistics, and the fact that our own Convention Visitors Bureau pays 8 weeks of family leave on all categories. I think the city can do this, and I really think that it would be a hallmark of an offering that we would be able to brag about as we recruit people. People want to have families. They are caring for their elders. So I would just appeal to us. We've met all of the, conditions on when we could be able to start this. I know it's an extra $30,000 that, Amy and the mayor need to find from somewhere, but we really want the city to do this, and I think it's time. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Councilmember Appel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman Jackson. My wife is expecting next month, and I don't know, maybe I'll take 6 months or something, and I'll see y'all next summer. But my comment was going to be more directed at what Councilman Waring said about West Ashley beautification, entranceways, things of that nature. Just wanted to throw my full support behind that. I know Councilman Shahid with the West Ashley Revitalization Commission has been working hard on this. And I would just say, let's not forget about, St. Andrews Boulevard when you're coming over the bridge, and also, Savannah Highway, that entrance point as well. I think we can do a lot by focusing in on these nodes onto West Ashley, both over in the North Bridge, of course, but also over across the Ashley, over in my neck of the woods. And I just think it's a great opportunity and want to just voice my support for it.
Well, thank you. I think we'll be getting a more specific request, and it was intentional from my what I remember, that they were going to ask both the county and the city for some funding for that, and specifically ask for ARPA funds. So presuming we can legally do that, we should be able to consider that early next year.
Okay.
Councilmember Gregory, I see you showing up. How are you?
I'm incredible. I'd just like to go back to Councilwoman Jackson's point with respect to the family leave.
Yes, sir.
And if we're talking, what, $30,000 for 2 weeks? Is that the number?
That was an estimate. I think HR felt like it was a little higher than that, but I'd have to recircle with them about it, to be honest with you.
I mean, because
Mayor, that was based on actual leave in those categories over the last couple of years, or 2019, I think. And
Yeah.
so their speculation is that if we offer it as a benefit, people might take more advantage of it. And so that number could go up. But I
Right.
think if we budget 30,000, it was actually 28,000 and change that would equate having paid out the leave that people had to take out of their own pockets. When you think about it, 2 weeks of leave it takes a while to build that up as an employee. So yes, but 30,000 is like a round number to talk about it.
is that an motion to amend?
So then we're using general fund reserves, because we don't have extra. So and you got to remember too, and I understand completely what you're saying, Councilmember Jackson, but with our attrition rate right now, to offer more leave for people to be out, that was another concern of the HR committee too. And I don't know if everybody was in favor of that. I think it's something that we would need to bring back forward. So I'm just throwing that out there, because it most likely would be more than 30,000, because people are careful when it's their own leave, but when it's offered to them free, they'll be more apt to take it. So we just don't have good numbers on what the actual cost might be.
So we'll look into it by next Tuesday. I mean, this advisory ad hoc committee would not be appropriate a motion from us would just be advisory. We'd have to do it on the floor next week at council, I believe.
So
But
next week,
Okay.
Mayor, is just when we provide the budget to council. It doesn't go to council for approval until December 7th.
Okay,
That's correct.
Right.
so that's right. All right. We'll double check with Kay about that. Councilmember Shade?
Yeah, two quick points. There's a wonderful New York Times article about what Councilwoman Jackson and Gregory are talking about that address this particular issue, and how far behind we are as a country are on this particular, I don't hate to say service, but opportunity, I guess. We don't take care of parents and those taking care of elderly. So this is a very strange budget we're working with this year. I don't want to kick the can down the road, Councilwoman Jackson, but I do think that, to what Amy is mentioning to us, we do need to have this discussion and plug this in at some point. If we can't do it this year, certainly I think it should be a top priority on our 2023 budget. But anyhow, I think your point's well taken, and I think we have an opportunity to sort of focus our attention on the well-being of our staff, and this is another way of doing that. Amy, then finally, Amy, you can make this available for us, the screen. You can email those to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean? This particular?
I'm having
Okay.
my monthly constituent meeting tomorrow, and I just want to
Uh-huh.
have the screen to show to them what's being proposed next week.
Okay, so this has gone to the paper, or, we're sending this, this is our budget. So that's what I'm
Right.
saying, like making last minute changes right now, then we're having a massage, and you know how that drives me crazy because I say it every year. So anyway, this is what's being sent to the paper for the budget that we're going to put together to give to all of council next week. So
Gotcha. And if I can pre-share it, that's fine, with the caveat with this a stamp draft on it. This is sort of parameters we're looking at. But I
I
do
leave
want
that
to share
to
this.
the mayor, because we talked about it yesterday, but none of the other council members will actually have it. So however you want me to handle that, I will handle it.
You asking me or asking the mayor?
The mayor. Because I could just send this to all the council members so that they have it before they get the actual draft budget. If it's okay to share it before that was my only concern. If he's going to share it at a meeting tomorrow before all the council members have it in their hand, I don't know.
Don't we get our packets this evening? Won't it be in the packet?
It won't be in the packet, no. Because we haven't had a chance to put the whole entire, we give you that book, right?
Well, this is we're on YouTube. This is all public right now, and I don't know the
Yeah.
big deal is.
Okay, so I'll just send it to all the council members and then everybody has it.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
yep.
Amy, one last thing, on yesterday, I did ask about the cameras on West Ashley Greenway. I know Councilmember Ross said we had and the mayor, and this was months ago, we had a meeting on that. And I forget the name, but somebody was on the call on the Zoom yesterday, and they were going to get with the lieutenant and get back to us. So we don't really have a number on that, but I don't think it'll be a major number.
It will probably, depending on what it is, because I don't know what kind of even equipment is on the Greenway for them to attach it to. So, and I've not heard one thing about that at all. And so the cameras that we're getting are $120,000. So again,
Yeah, I know those, but those cameras didn't take into account anything West Ashley, if I remember correctly.
I understand that.
Right. Okay.
Councilmember Waring? Yes, sir. Councilmember Waring, I followed up with Lieutenant McLaughlin and Lieutenant King yesterday, and they're actually having some internal conversations. They're working on a plan. Essentially, it's going to be dependent on what's approved in the budget for next year. Because we are also using flock cameras as well. So they are working on some initiatives. They've identified some equipment that they may be able to utilize for that project. That is not new equipment, but it's used equipment. So they are working on a response to get back to you on that.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when I saw the budget item, Councilmember Waring, I asked Chief Reynolds to look into, the narrative on the budget said to replace cameras. And my question was, gee, I bet these might be newer, better, higher resolution camera, the new cameras, but I bet we could still use the cameras we're replacing as well, rather than just completely retiring. I don't think they're broken. They just, we got a better mousetrap now. So I think they're going to look into that and try to still use as many cameras as we can, which will give us some more flexibility. Councilmember Appel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilman Waring. I think it's a great idea if we can get some additional safety provisions on the Greenway. I think that's something that certainly the folks in my district along the Greenway have been interested in.
Yep.
And also, I got to give another shout out to the mayor for the solar powered lights on the Greenway, which have been a tremendous success. I made a Facebook post with those photos, and you would have thought we, I can't even come up with an analogy, but people were very, very excited about that. And, that's got a safety element to it as well. I mean, they're lights, but they're low key. So it's not,
That's
too
right.
much for the Greenway. So that's just something else to think about. And the last thing I just wanted to ask while we're on the Greenway subject is making sure this budget's got those funds for the Greenway improvements that we had been talking about. Thank y'all.
They wouldn't
That
be in
was-
this budget, Councilman Erpel. Those are general fund reserves, so it's not a part of the budget itself.
But it's still out there. It's in our
Money
reserve.
is reserved for the projects, but it's not, the expenditures are not part of this budget. It's a capital project. That makes sense.
Oh, I got it. So it's considered a capital project, not part of our budget.
That's right.
General
It's not an
Got it.
operating expense.
Got it. And I know we got to work on that, and we got some, issues we got to resolve with CWS, but I think we're making some good progress on that. Thank y'all.
So just to let everybody know, that solar light we got for the Greenway, and then there's 2 over in Lenavar Park. The company donated them to us just to try them out, see how we liked them, and we do like them. So if the opportunity comes up, we'll get a quote from them to buy a few, I guess. But so far, they've been complimentary, which is very nice. Through 3 lights they gave us. They work great. All right. What else we got?
We don't need to belabor this, Mayor. We can go off and be finished.
I think Amy
Okay.
had a couple more
Yeah.
updates.
I won't
Okay.
show you the stormwater budget because I don't think it's that big of a deal. I had a link to it, but I won't show it to you. It's just because of the pay plan. We changed it to the full year, so it just changed the stormwater budget just a little bit to account for that. But I can show it to you if you want me to. I can send it to you separate, whichever you prefer.
Separate.
And then tourism budgets, there's no changes to those from what we presented last week. State ATAX, we're getting the application completed so we can start that process to allow people to apply for those funds. Hospitality, we discussed the debt payment, keeping that in there for the seawall. So we're going to leave that in there. So it's pretty much the same as we talked about last week, which we'll bring for approval at the December 7th meeting. But like I said before, there's those 2 outstanding items, the River Dogs upgrades to the MLB requirements, and then Councilmember Waring had mentioned the International African American Museum as well. So those are agreements that we need to work on that won't be done anytime soon. So once we have those resolved and those agreements done, then we'll bring it forth as amendment to the budget.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, and then council, you'll receive the draft budget on November 23rd. First reading is on the 7th. We don't have any more ad hoc meetings scheduled for the rest of the year. I don't think we need them unless changes to the budget are made. And then one other thing is we'd just like to schedule a meeting in January to talk about the budget book and maybe some different options from the very large budget book that we do. So we'll plan something for January. And that is really all I had.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I'm looking forward to next year when parking revenue will be up.
What's going to happen next year?
I said, I'm looking forward to next year. Hopefully our parking revenue will be up.
Yes, absolutely. But don't forget, we need to take care of some deferred maintenance in those garages.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Not just the garages,
Yeah, it's everything.
it's everything.
Yep.
Councilmember Shade, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it you yesterday that asked about parking garages?
I asked you about something with the parking garages and the, oh, God.
You asked if there was a garage that wasn't performing well or something like that.
That's right. There was one, if there were certain garages that were outperforming or underperforming other garages. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. So we'll get that to you. We had done an analysis of which garages have come back the slowest, I guess, but not necessarily our strongest performing and lowest performing garages. So we can we can work on that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
It's just going to show a trend, I think, if nothing else, as to what's going on with the rest of the city, if it's tourist-related garages versus workspace-related garages. That's my curiosity.
Well, I can tell you the ones that are slowest to come back were the hotel, the garages attached to hotels. So we did have that. I can send that to all of you if you'd like to look at it anyway, and then we can work on the other one for you as well.
Yeah, that's just my curiosity more so than anything else, Amy, as to
Okay.
how that, yeah, whatever it's convenient for you, that's not urgent. It's while we're talking about it yesterday, it sort of piqued my interest.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else or need
I
anything?
do.
I'm wearing.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this doesn't have anything to do with this budget, but at some point, Mr. Mayor, Amy, and colleagues, I think we almost need to have some sort of, here I am asking for another workshop on, I guess, future funding for the city. Because when I look at things like parking, for example, for hotels, you know, as we go forward, how many more people will be Ubering from airports or whatever versus driving their cars in, which will, you know, affect the long-term effects of our dependency on that kind of funding. Or when we look at things like franchise fees, you know, I don't know that we can depend on franchise fees, you know, 10 years out the way we do today. So as opposed to reacting to that, I'm just wondering whether we can begin to kind of maybe plan in the future, begin planning now in the event that franchise fees were to reduce. And we said, why do you say that? You know, we got Comcast, but look at what streaming is doing to Comcast. But we don't get any monies from Amazon streaming or, for that matter, Netflix streaming. So I'm sure that someplace down the line, the Dominions of the world and the AT&T of the world and the Comcast of the world is going to say, wait a minute, we can't keep doing it this way. So, you know, what do we do to kind of be proactive in planning for something like that? That's not something we need to do, you know, next month or maybe the month after that, but it sure be good to have a retreat or something on that to begin to look at revenues, or potential revenues in the future going on, protecting or replacing what we have to alternative funding sources. So I just thought I would throw that out.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
at some point, can we have a workshop or a discussion with regard to the $1 billion for infrastructure that's coming from the Fed? Some sense of what we're lobbying for, what we need to do as council members to assist in that lobbying for. I mean, we have a number of bridges that we need replaced, and I can go on in terms of infrastructure needs. So I just want to know if we have a strategy in place in order for us to start. I mean, we may be a little late, but to try to get some of that money that's coming. The $6 billion came to the state of South Carolina, right? How much of that is coming to us?
Right.
That's my
And
question.
Rick met with our representative in DC last week. He was down here in Charleston. And of course, a lot of details you don't know until the actual bill got passed. It's now passed, but and a lot of those allocations apparently are made pretty automatically to the state, but there is some flexibility with grant applications through particularly Mayor Pete's office, transportation. So anyway, Mike Tonger is our main guy in DC, and along with William Clyburn, and they're putting together information for us to be able to make those decisions about what we can and plan to go after. So yeah, we are working on it already, but it is pretty fresh.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Councilmember Jackson.
Yeah, so thanks for that question, Councilmember Gregory. So it's clear then that there's not going to be the kind of a big city direct award the way that ARPA funds were made. It's all going to come through the state for their own decision making.
No, some will come through the states, but I understand there'll be those grants like we applied for the bike ped bridge. They'll put money into those kinds of grants that we can apply for directly. Frankly, there's a good pot of money for water projects and water and sewer, not drainage. And we've already, Councilmember Waring and I have already been talking with Ken Hill and our partners over at Charleston Water Service. They are applying for well over $100 million worth of stuff that they want to do. So we're tracking it. We're trying to find out what the avenues we will have, and we'll try to apply for some money. There's no question about that. Rick, you want to add anything?
Yeah, Mayor, Mike and William are going to prepare a report for us. So it will show us how those funds are going to be distributed. You know, a lot will go to the state, but a lot will be held at the federal departmental level for discretionary grants, just like we did with the Ashley River Bike Ped Bridge. So, but hopefully they'll have, you know, the bill wasn't finally drafted until last week, and so they're looking at the legislative language and seeing which departments get how much and how they intend to implement that through those various departments. So once we get that, we'll share it with you all.
Well, let me ask this, Mr. Mayor and Rick. What's the strategy up in Columbia? Once the money hits the state, obviously there's going to be some jockeying for those dollars. We've got, you know, the consultants, lobbyists in Washington. What's our strategy for Columbia?
Yeah, we've got a lobbyist there too, Councilman Waring, who as soon as the state identifies how much money it's going to get, we'll be working on that, developing proposals, sharing them with council, and getting them to our legislative delegation to help push for them, as well as apply for them directly. You know, the state hasn't even decided how it's going to spend its version of the ARPA funds yet. We submitted about $90 million worth of requests to the state, and they're not going to make those decisions until next January, it doesn't seem like. So the state is always going to be a little slow in how it decides how the money is going to be distributed. But as soon as we figure that out, we'll start working on that as well.
Who is our
Lynn Stokes Murray. We've had her for the last couple of years. She's with the Burr, used to be with the McNeil law firm, and now it's the Burr Furman law firm.
Burr Foreman, yeah.
Lynn Stokes? What? Say again?
Lynn Stokes Murray. I'll
Murray.
send you her contact information if you'd like.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good
We've
question.
got work to do.
Yeah, you don't get kissed unless you ask in this business.
And sometimes you don't get kissed then.
That wasn't true of my brother Fred. I tell you, he didn't have to even ask. They were just all over him. But anyway. All right. Anybody else? Any questions? Comments?
Thanks,
Good
Mary.
show.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Thank y'all for
Thank you.
going through this season
A
with all
long,
the ad hoc meetings. But I find them to be very helpful, and I think it's been a good process. It is, I think, a lot more transparent than the process that the city would utilize before, and sometimes that gets us some criticism, but you know, we're being transparent, and I think that's a good thing. So
thank you, Mayor. I agree.
all right, God bless. Talk to you.
Amen.
Thanks, y'all.
Take
Have a
care.
good week.
You
See you
too.
later.
Bye-bye.